we go. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Gotham Sports Machine. I'm Mark Healy. My co-host is Jack Healy, and we're going to talk about, the Knicks today, um, because this is the first time we've done the podcast in a long time. So, welcome back, Jack.
Good to be back.
And we would talk about the Nets, but they're so obliviously bad that really there's no point. They're rebuilding, whatever. We'll spend a day, maybe we'll get a Nets person in here to tell us why any Nets fan should have any hope for the future. But let's talk about the only basketball team in town. That's the Knicks. Obviously having a good season. Right now they're the third seed. The surprising Celtics have the second seed. Obviously the Pistons, who, the Knicks have not been able to solve this year, are the first seed. What do you feel about where the Knicks are right now? Did you expect the Celtics to be this good? Talk about how you feel about the Knicks right now, as far as where they are and where you think they're going to wind up at when it comes to the playoff time.
Well, to be honest, I'm not too surprised about where they are right now. I mean, they were a very talented team coming into the year, and they added talent. They added more depth. They have more of a bench now. Even made a deal at the deadline to really solidify that bench and getting Alvarado. And in comparison to the rest of the East, I knew Detroit was going to be better. I was telling my friends, like, Detroit's going to be one of the best teams in the East. It's going to be us in Detroit, really. And Cleveland's obviously still kind of there. The Celtics, I mean, they've been playing really good, but I'm not sold on a team with a bunch of nobody. Like, they're not nobodies, but they're a bunch of guys that come playoff time, they have no experience. They go up against a team like Detroit, like Cleveland, like the Knicks, I just don't see Hugo Gonzalez and Baylor Shireman, a bunch of guys nobody's ever heard of unless you watch basketball and watch the Celtics. Eh, the Knicks have 7 or 8 guys you can really rely on come playoff time that have played reliable playoff minutes, that have played crunch time playoff minutes. So when I look at this team, like, am I confident that they can win 1 or 2 playoff series? Yes, depending on who they play. But this Mike Brown system has them playing so weirdly inconsistent at times that I can't be sold until I see them play in the playoffs.
I mean, that's a good point, and you always make fun of me because I always say the regular season doesn't matter. But what I mean is that doesn't really matter for really good teams. Really good teams like the Knicks were last year and where they have been, over the last, several years. Uh, when you lose regular season games to tough opponents, I mean, yeah, it matters as far as seeding. But to me, as long as the Knicks are healthy when we get to the playoffs. Obviously you don't want to be less than a 3 seed. You don't want to be less than that, or a 4 seed, whatever. It's not. You'd rather have that home field, home court advantage in the playoffs. But again, let's talk about where their record against Detroit this year. You brought them up. You think Detroit's really good. It didn't matter against the Celtics last year, but is that alarming in your mind that they have not been able to figure out the Pistons?
Not really. I mean, it's a little annoying to the fact that it seems like they just shut down when they play them, but and it's not going to be like that when you play them for 4 or 5 games straight. Like, you're not going to be able to stop Brunson 4 or 5 games straight. It's just that's not how he works in the playoffs. He's been putting up Michael Jordan numbers in the playoffs. And if he's been stepping up and he's been accepting the role of, I don't need to take 15, 20 shots to be one of the best players on the court. If he can do that and play like a tough big man that everyone's like, oh, he's soft, he's soft. It's not that I don't. He gets himself out of the game. He's an emotional player. We've seen emotional athletes over the course of history. Like, these guys, they one even right off the jump, they make 1 or 2 dumb mistakes that can take them out for the whole game. If we can keep Cat engaged and locked in, I'm really like, they don't have the like as good of a defensive team they are. They still showed that they could not stop Brunson in the playoffs last year. And I believe that nobody can stop Brunson in the playoffs when he's truly locked in and his team is playing at least viable basketball. So, am I worried about what they did previously? Like, I take it with a grain of salt. because
I mean, look, I,
playoff Brunson is different. He's different.
I feel the same way. And again, it doesn't, we're not dismissing the fact that Detroit's a good team. It's just that it doesn't really, it's not the way that the media and the fans have been reacting to this Knicks team all season is just, to me, it's like 1 minute they're awesome. The next minute, oh, they're terrible. They can't get out of their own way. Brandon Tierney, who used to be on WFAN, isn't now. He called them gutless. After they lost to the Pistons, he was calling them out. I mean, obviously, it's easy to call them out when call them gutless when you're never in the clubhouse or the locker room interviewing these guys after games. But that's just me. Um, to me, it's been so reactive. Once they're good, oh, the Knicks have figured it out. Then they lose a couple of games. Oh, the Knicks are terrible. They're not gonna be as good as last year. Why did they fire Tibbs? And to make that segue, what do you see in the difference between last year's team, which was the most successful of the Tibbs era, going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and Mike Brown's team? You mentioned it before about the system. They've been inconsistent in the system, but do you think that this team is better prepared for the playoffs because they're not playing Tibbs's demanding style? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yes and no. I'd say their bodies are going to be obviously more rested, and it's not going to be as like already like last year coming into the first round and coming out of the first round, like everybody was already very like low energy. Like the Detroit series and their system, I mean, they beat the hell out of everybody. So when they came out of that series basically all beat up, and then you have to play Boston, and then Boston beat them up. Like they couldn't even make it to that Pacers series. By game three, game four, we barely had any starters on the fucking court. Like, and nobody could really like express their pain with how many guys went down last year and how like painful that series loss was, because it was just like it was just demoralizing. It was just over. And that's why Tibbs left. That's why we moved on. That's why we went to Mike Brown. And that's why we have this new system where everybody touches the ball. A lot more guys get in the game. And we're seeing Brunson, he's really adapted to it the best. I mean, he really hasn't had any fall off in his game, really his numbers at all. And OG Bridges, they've been like at times they've been good. At times it seems like every player outside of Brunson has had inconsistencies, which makes you like it makes you think like, are we ready for the playoffs? Like, is this team is or one of these guys gonna come into the playoff series and just have an absolute stinker and shoot below 40 from the field and it be like a guy you can't have you ha- when you have OG and Bridges, you need to keep them on the court. They're great defensive players, but if they're not shooting great, and if Cat, again, another guy he's not a great defensive player, but he's a great offensive player. You take him out of it. Like you can't have guys where they're a hole on the court. And there's been times in this Mike Brown system where it seems like a guy's been a hole on the court. And it's concerning. I will say it's concerning.
Well, look, obviously, just by watching, I don't watch as many games as you do. You are locked in on the Knicks. But to me, I see a big difference with this team when OG's out, when Mitch is banged up, when Mitch plays, I mean, the job he did on Wemby, the other was it Sunday? Was that yesterday? Was that yesterday?
Sunday. Sunday.
Sunday. I mean, the job he did on Wemby. I mean, that was, with the offensive rebound. The Knicks are a completely different team in my mind. And, you can agree or disagree. When OG's healthy and Mitch is healthy and they're playing like at a high level, I think the Knicks are 1,000 times better because Brunson's going to be up. Brunson's going to be there. If he's healthy, Brunson's going to be a force. Bridges. I mean, he has games where he kind of disappears, but Bridges is as good a player as anybody. And and then they have that supporting cast. Like you said, with Cat being a great offensive player. I mean, those two guys are so important to what the Knicks do, OG and Mitch. Do you think that? Do you think that that's what they have to have if they're going to make a long run in the playoffs? Like those two guys being healthy?
100%. I mean, overall health is usually what wins championships. Whoever can come out of the series the healthiest. And like you one or two star like you it's usually the stars that go down, then you're like, but it's the role players. You lose one or two key role guys. Like if the Knicks lose Mitch, they really don't have it. Like they have Huck Porty and Trey Jamison. Like those guys can't come in a playoff series and like all they can do is rebound. Mitch's defensive impact is and like his offensive rebounding is second to none. Like nobody in the league that actually play. Like Steven Adams, like yeah, he doesn't really play like he used to. He's like he Mitchell Robinson is the throwback big man, the guy that'll he sits down in the paint and you want no part of him when he's down on the block. Like he's not a post up guy, but if you he's one of those guys like he's like, "Oh yeah, you shoot the ball because I'm going to get it no matter what." Like you just
Well,
throw him under the paint and he's gonna get you second opportunities. And those second chance opportunities can lead to threes and those lead to big runs and those lead to wins.
he reminds me of Ben Wallace. I don't know if you ever seen tape of Ben Wallace, but that's how Ben Wallace was. He wasn't much of an offensive player, but defensively he was elite, and a rebounder he was elite. And that's the kind of toughness that I think, you know, this team needs, especially when they're playing, teams that can with teams that can score. I mean, when you look at, again, it's the regular season. I don't make a big deal about the regular season, but just watching the way that the two of them played against the Spurs, it was impressive. Because Wemby is, we talk about Kristaps being the unicorn. That guy's the unicorn.
Well, he's the
Wemby,
alien.
yeah, he's like sick. Um, so let's focus. We talked about the Eastern Conference. We talked about the Knicks. Uh, back to backs are always brutal, right? So you have Toronto tonight, Tuesday night, and then you have Oklahoma City on Wednesday night. Um, you know, where do you see these two games? Was it 1-1, 0-2, 2-0? Where do you think the Knicks? How do you think the Knicks are gonna perform against these two teams?
I mean, it's tough to tell with a back-to-back. You hope to take that first one so then you could go into the second one with some momentum. Because then, I mean, losing tonight would be tough because then you have to go into Oklahoma. Like the Oklahoma City game, they're a good team. You're gonna be tired coming off the second game, like going into the second game. I like how they play Toronto. I think Toronto's like they're a good team, but they never really like hang with the Knicks, especially the past few years. OG usually has it out for them ever since they traded him. And some of us, we got some former Knicks on that team, but I don't think they'll hang with the Knicks tonight. Hopefully.
Our guy
And
RJ.
yeah,
RJ. I miss
yeah,
RJ.
love RJ, love quickly, but
Yep.
they really had like that trade has been so great for the Knicks. I
I
mean,
know, and I was
OG,
so wrong. I hated the trade. Hated it.
I
Because
didn't
we were
like it, but
like,
I knew OG. I knew
right.
the player he could be.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I didn't really know. I really didn't know anything about him. And you were like, no, he's a good player. We hate giving up those guys, but he's a good player. I said, all right, we'll see. And we saw. He's my problem. The only problem OG has is that sometimes he can be a little brittle. Sometimes he gets hurt. To me, that's the only weakness he has. He does
And
everything
well,
else.
he does have cold spells, but I mean that so does every player in the NBA.
Yeah, but he doesn't disappear when he gets cold. He still rebounds. He still plays
Yeah.
defense. And that's the difference. That's the difference kind of with him and Cat. Cat can sometimes get lost and he's lost completely. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yep.
So, but so all right. So we talked about the Knicks and we talked about the Eastern Conference. Here's where I kind of zone out, or at least during the regular season, I don't really pay attention. I mean, they're 0-2 against the Suns, and they're 0-1 against the Warriors. So the Western Conference, obviously OKC, I think is the top seed right now in the West. What are the
I
other
think the
teams?
Spurs actually got them. We just beat the Spurs.
Right, right. So outside of the Spurs, OKC, like what are the other teams that if Knick fans are only focusing, I only focus on like the Knicks and what's in front of us. What are some of those teams in the Western Conference that you think are going to be a really, really bad matchup if the Knicks somehow get to the finals? Who's the worst matchup for the Knicks?
I mean, the worst matchup, I mean, uh, you would think it would be the Spurs, but I mean, we just took care of them. I mean, the Thunder have never, they've really played us well over the years, and with this
Right,
team, they're the defending champions, but
right.
again, they're the defending champions. You're already starting to see some injuries here and there with that team, and they're a young team too. That was their first deep playoff run. So for me, it's gonna be hard. I just don't see them going all the way to the finals and winning the finals again and staying healthy. I mean, they could do it. They have the talent for it, but that's a lot of basketball games in a row. So, and then you got, I mean, you have a lot. They got Denver. You got again the Spurs. They're a good young team. The Suns. I mean, they have a team. They just lost Dylan Brooks for a while. He was a big part of that. He was playing at an all-star level, and he's gonna be gone for basically like most of the season now. So I'm not really too worried about them. And then I mean, you have like I don't really look at that matchup wise because you don't know who is gonna even be healthy by the finals. So it's like I look at teams like, oh, that team can make a run, that team can make a run. But overall, I mean, it's really just the top dogs over like the Timberwolves, I guess, can make a run. The Nuggets, I guess, can make a run. The Lakers, I guess, can make a run. But none of these teams really scream like again, even the Rockets, like it's really just like the top five or six teams to me
All
should
right.
should
So,
make the finals and will make the finals between Detroit, Boston, and even Boston. I'm shaky on Oklahoma City, the Knicks, Cleveland, and then like outside of that, like you got a bunch of maybes.
all right. Well, before we close things out, it's great doing the podcast with you again. Obviously, we're going to try to do this every week. We'll pick a different sport every week. Obviously, we have a lot of baseball to talk about as we get closer to opening day. We're going to talk football. We're going to talk the draft. We're going to talk about the Jets, the Giants, and our team, the Falcons. We're going to talk about maybe we'll talk about some hockey. Max Schneider is doing fantastic. Matthew Schaefer, I mean, is doing fantastic with the Islanders. Obviously the most exciting team in town. Sorry, Rangers, you stink. Um, but one last question for you, Jack. We're going to try to do this every Tuesday, so keep it. Jack will post it. I'll post it. My last question is: can the Knicks take anything away from the NBA Cup? Like, is that like a building thing that they could do, or is it just nonsense and a nice little
I mean,
paycheck for the players?
it's not nonsense. But it's so early in the season. It's like I mean, it's playoff type basketball. Like you can take that, or like you can take away. It's a win. Like a win is a
Right,
win.
right.
But
But it's not something
when
we're going to
even
go
was
back and
that?
look.
Like that was like
Yeah,
what 2, 3 months ago. Like it
right,
means yeah. Like LeBron, I'm sure he was still celebrating it last year. But
right.
like, get out of here.
Actually, LeBron, like that question comes up, like if LeBron wanted to come to the Knicks, would you want LeBron on the Knicks?
If he won a champion, but like at this point, like he's gonna want more than 30 million to come
Well,
here. So,
forget about that. Forget about that. I'm not even talking about that. Let's say they can make it work somehow.
but that's the thing. He has never once in his career been the guy to be like, oh, I'll take a pay cut. So he's not gonna take a pay
Right.
cut to come here. So no. If he would take a pay cut and he'd take a vet minimum, of course, I would want him to like,
Right.
but
I would
for
not.
40, 50 million,
I want I
you
want no
wouldn't want
part
him
of
on
it.
a veteran minimum?
No. No, I don't support
That's
that.
just stupid. Like even though he's 40 years old. He's still one of the better players in the NBA.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't play defense.
he's toxic with all that flopping and all that nonsense. I mean, look, when he made the decision and he took his talents to Miami, I wanted him on the Knicks badly. But that was, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So, he's not the LeBron he used to be. And I don't know. It would,
He's not coming here
it
anyway.
would be awesome if the Knicks won a championship. Obviously, it would be incredible. But having LeBron on the team, I don't know. I wouldn't enjoy it as much, maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't care too much. I just need a championship.
All right, buddy. All right, so that's the Gotham Sports Machine for this week. Jack, great doing this with you, buddy. Look forward to doing next week. We're going to try
Yep.
to do this every Tuesday, hopefully, and check it out. We're going to do. This is the first time we're doing a video too. I didn't even mention that. This is the first time we're doing a video podcast. But it'll be available on the Gotham Baseball YouTube channel. And it'll also be available on Spotify. So for those of you who follow us already on Spotify, nothing's changing, except it's a video podcast now. And then you can also watch us on YouTube, the Gotham Baseball YouTube channel. Take it easy, Jack. See you later, pal.
Take care.
I never remember where the heck this stupid